Hey, what's up, guys? Today we are working on a new tank. It's called an Instu tank. We had it custom designed. Essentially, these are really good because this has built-in lighting and a built-in, these are both fans right here, and then we'll have a misting system put in here as well. As you guys remember from one of our previous videos, we had the forest chameleon. Well, this is going to be his. We're updating it, doing a big full-on system. The cool thing is this has actually got a built-in drain. It's insane, and it's got vents in the front and on the top. But for right now, what we're doing is we're actually getting some rock placements. You can see I've already mounted these two in here. This one up here, I'm not sure about because I don't want to block the vent. And yeah, we have the two vents there. So, and then I'm gonna do some more rocks over here, and then we're gonna incorporate a ton of branches and live plants in the rocks, and it's gonna look really cool. So let me, and what we're using right now, so you can see this is black silicone. I'm not worried about it being on the rock because we actually have the reptile sand right here. It's very similar in color, and so we'll use an adhesive or a silicone to, or even some super glue just to go over the top of it to cover up the black. Now I did use black down there because I wanted it to blend in, totally forgetting that I actually have clear. So yeah, it was an oversight, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna put down the camera here and we're gonna get this one put into place. All right, guys, we got that put in place. We got the silicone. I'm not worried about smoothing it out because it's gonna be something that's gonna be hidden, but I am gonna show you here. So we did tack on to the glass. I am gonna run just the edge of my finger down it to kind of smooth it out, remove any excess. And I don't mind if it gets on the rock. And if excess gets on the glass, well, we can use a razor blade. And I'm actually gonna tuck that up underneath to make sure that we have a good mounting point. I'm actually not, let's see, there we go. We essentially, all we're doing there is we're making sure that the rock doesn't move. We want to mount it to the glass, as well as each one of these is mounted to each other. We can adjust that fan so it'll be perfect. Now we're going to start working on the other side here. I haven't decided if I want to do big rocks or if I want to foam in behind it. We'll see. We might actually do that to incorporate some potted plants, but so this is actually called Smoky Mountain rock. I like it just because of the coloration and the jaggedness of the different rocks. And look, there went a piece flying. So when we're doing this, it's a matter of like just Tetris. So you remember the old game, you know, you just want to make sure everything fits together, and then depending on how it sits, depends on if I like it or not. So what I do, and I have this other piece over here that I really want to use. It's a really cool piece. But essentially, I want to do something like that. That way there's lots of crevices and lots of branches, and it's going to be an insane build, guys. So without further ado, let me get this all siliconed in here. All right, guys, so we took the sand, put it in the bucket here. You can see we secured this one on different points. So we're just going to take a little bit. Sprinkle it over the top. Now I'm not worried about this getting the bottom because A, either I can vacuum it out, or B, it can just become part of the the substrate, because this is going to be a bioactive, and so doing the upwards throw. Remember what I said about all that black? I forget how fine sand makes a mess. That's all right. That's what vacuums are for, right? They're nice and covered up. You won't even be able to see it. Now I did pour some in the middle, or I got some silicone in the middle, and so that way they're joined on each side. And once again, you know, we connected it to the glass. I'm going to cover that up with silicone. We have the 2 pieces of rock with silicone. And then we even have the bottom attached with silicone. So you can use gloves. I actually do use gloves when I'm working with the actual silicone. Oops, sorry about that. Oh man, look at that. I completely missed. But when it comes to sand, I don't know. I just like having my hands where I know I can feel it. So we're going to salvage some of that. And we'll touch that up where you won't even be able to see it. So it's doing a good job of, the silicone is doing a good job of drying already. So far, this is the stage. Now we need to find a piece to go on top of here, but before we do that, I'm gonna give this about 24 hours to set. That way we don't worry about any of this shifting and any of this shifting. So, hang tight, guys. All right, guys, it's been 24 hours, so it's nice and cured. We did add in a couple more pieces here, just to kind of give it dimension and kind of, I wanted that cliff face effect, so I wanted that nice undertone. Now you may ask, you're like, well, forest chameleons are tropical, why are you adding rock in here instead of branches? Well, hold on to your britches, because this is just the base of it. We're going to incorporate rock, or well, yeah, rock. We already have rock. We're going to incorporate branches. We haven't decided if we're going to do the branchy manzanilla wood, or what if I'm going to go with redwood, but then we're going to incorporate live moss through the crevices, and because we're going to have the misters installed in here, so it's definitely going to transform into something amazing. So let's get on to the next project, which would be sorry, I added a little bit of super glue and I saw some that was sitting there, so I put some sand on it, cover it up. But next up, we're going to position some flower pots hidden. That's why we have the crevice back here. That's also why we have a crevice there. And then I know it's hard to see, but from the back you see all this dead space right here. We're actually going to incorporate some plants, that way they come up. I've thought about using some of the not creeping Charlie, but some vines, because like I really like this effect where they just kind of go wherever, and that'd be a really cool effect for them to grow out and climb along the branches and along the rock. So yeah, let's dip into it. All right, guys, before I put plants in, I mean, you can kind of see where I'm going to put plants, but I mean, we're gonna have live Java moss across it, but I decided to get the drainage layer in there and get the bottom all squared away before I move on to the top. That way, you know, when we're putting in branches, I'm not fighting around it with all the rocks and everything. So first up, what we have is we have the clay balls, which help with humidity. So we're gonna go ahead and put these in. You can see we have the drain there. I'm not too worried about the sand being in there. It's like those games at the arcade that they just start flowing out. So we're gonna move it along. Now we do want to keep it a little bit lower because there is the ventilation down here. We don't want to block that. I'm just gonna maneuver this around. Here. I'm gonna move that. I want to put some back behind there. It's all right. We don't need a terribly thick layer. You see this side's gonna bug me now too, because you can see where I'm trying to fill in. It's back there. It's like Plinko. All right. So that's squared away. We have the thin layer. I'm gonna put that back up there. Yeah, there it is, their first layer. All right guys, as you can see, we're starting to put it in the screen. We had some scrap left over from a different build. We're just getting it to fit. I did have to cut up some pieces to get it back behind the rock. I'm not too worried about this corner. I don't know, my OCD might get the best of me. I might put a little piece back there. But right now what we're doing is we're sizing it up to make sure that we have enough. If not, I have extra. And then actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some Gorilla Glue here to dab it along the edges to hold it in place at all the different joints. All right, as you guys can see, we got all the screen in. You can see I had to do some patches around the rock, but I mean, that's no big deal. We got all the way in the back. And you can see I use the Gorilla Glue just to do little dabs, just to hold those pieces in place. And lo and behold, yeah, it was gonna bug me. So I put a piece back there. So with that being said, we have our mixture here. This is a jungle mix, but we're also gonna add in some Reptisoil and some leaf litter. We wanna give it a completely natural environment for the forest chameleon. And then once we get all the bottom squared away, for the most part, then we'll start placing branches. And why the heck? There's a clay ball way at the top. I don't know how, because I mean, you guys saw it. I poured it in the bottom, so that was just, you go back there. Apparently he was trying to get away. So make sure to like this channel. You know, if you're enjoying what we're doing here, we're trying to take this step by step. This is going to be a nicer terrarium for me, and obviously, like, this is sitting front and center in my store, so I got to step up my A game, and I got to make sure it looks really nice. So if you are enjoying it, drop a comment down below and tell us that you are, and tell us what you like about the scape so far. If you want to see a certain type of plant in here, or a certain type of driftwood, make sure to leave us a comment down below, and make sure to smash that subscribe button. So with that being said, let's jump over and get this all mixed up. All right guys, you can see we got the first layer of Reptisoil in. We got it all back in the nooks and crannies. Oh, sorry, I have my dog here and I just accidentally stepped on his tail. I'm sorry, Bubba. But what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna fill, the reason I siliconed to the edges is we're actually gonna fill this whole corner with dirt. That way I can incorporate plants coming out the sides and the back, and then we're gonna fill up this corner too, because we have a vine that's gonna come out, and we're gonna do a couple different vines, that way it grows across the rocks. So I'm going to go ahead and add more dirt in. up next, we are using branchy manzanita wood. We have a couple of different pieces that we are breaking up. This is kind of what we've got so far. We have one piece going back to the corner. We have it glued up in the corner. We have a little piece as if it's coming up. And then we have the base, like a branch that fell from up higher, and it's hanging on to the ghost wood that we have here. So it's coming along. I also went through and I saturated down with RO water, which is reconstituted water. We actually have you can see it, the layer of moss underneath, and this is the forest blend. We're actually using zebra isopods for this enclosure. They're not in there yet. We'll show you guys when we do actually introduce them. But we already introduced springtails in here, that way they can get going on breeding and everything like that. Now, one thing I don't like about super glue is, bam, that white little mark. And so what we're gonna do is, once we get all the pieces in place, then we're gonna take some of the terrarium moss and we're gonna cover that up. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. There was really no, the way I build terrariums is I start with a bare tank and literally piece by piece we put it together. You can see maybe you can see kind of back there where the base of that one is. It's showing signs of the white from the super glue, so we'll have to put some moss there. But this thing is far from over. Give us a thumbs up if you're liking how the build's coming out so far. What we did is we used branchy manzanita. The one piece in the middle is ghost wood. That's the main focal point. But the branchy manzanita is placed all over. It's held in with super glue and silicone in different spots. We have different vining plants on the top, and we have some ferns and some apothos. We have the leaf litter, we have the multiple layers of soil, and we also have the terrarium moss and the Java moss in this enclosure. We have the drainage and all that hooked up, so when the mister is on, it'll drain out the back. And I can actually show you real quick. So we have the tube coming out the back, and it just drains right into a 5-gallon bucket. So, oh, and you can see the back of the enclosure here. It looks really, really cool. But today is an exciting day. So We do have springtails in here. You can see in, I showed a little bit of a clip right here for the zebra isopods that we have in this enclosure. We have around 30 in here. It's a good size enclosure, but this little guy, the forest chameleon, is getting released into his new setup today. So I wanted to share this with you. Let's see what he does. He's just like, your hand's comfy. I'm just gonna chill here. Go, go. He's like, oh, and he's off. We'll do another video showing him once he gets a little bit more settled in.